Hi, it's Helen from Sportswear Chatter. I'm going to show you how to create a legging pattern, traced from a 2D pattern. I like to work with an avatar for scale. Click on the Clo library on the right hand side of your workspace. Select Avatar, Female, and then whatever style you want. She then appears in your 3D window. You can also change accessories and hair. The biggest barrier I found when starting Clo 3D was moving around the window. Click on Settings and User Settings and select View Controls, and here is everything you need. I have Magic Mouse selected, but previously I've worked with a tablet. You just need to change to whatever you find easiest. You can pick shortcuts for Pan, Zoom, Rotate in 3D window and Pop-up menu. You may change this a few times before finding exactly what works for you. So let's zoom in so we can see what we're doing. First, we want to create a rectangle to place our pattern trace into. In 2D window, pick the polygon button and select rectangle. Line the rectangle up with your avatar's shadow so you know your trace will be the right size for your avatar. Click and drag to create. Now we need to add the pattern file. Go to your Clo library, find your shortcut for your files, and then drag the pattern file across. This makes a texture, so make sure that's highlighted and press OK. Now we need to resize this scan so it's all in line with the size of the avatar. Click on the texture button. It looks like a fabric swatch folded over. Click back on your rectangle to select it and then resize. Pull the line out that is in the right corner of your 2D window. You can click on the rectangle to reposition the pattern and resize until you're happy with it. You can also see the size altering in the 3D window. Next, we need to trace around the pattern. Select the internal line button. This has a line within a box and it's in your 2D window. We need this as we're actually drawing inside our original rectangle. Click on the starting point of your scan pattern and click all around the shape. It helps if you zoom in and out so your tracing is accurate. Don't worry about the curves, we'll sort those out later. To get a smoother line, I think it's best not to have too many points. You can see as I trace round, a small scrunched up hand sometimes appears on the window. This comes up when I'm dragging my canvas around to try and reposition. This is the pan setting. You can use the pan to navigate round both the 2D and the 3D window. I have my settings set to left click and Alt or Option on Mac. You just need to find out what suits you and set it in your user settings, which I showed you earlier. So we're tracing around the front of the leg of the legging and also the back. Just a tip, always check your patterns before you scan them in and start working on them. Make sure all the pieces join together. As you click round onto your original point, it will complete the pattern. Shortcut Z allows you to transform one point, and then shortcut C allows you to curve that line. Or you can go to the Edit Pattern button, click on the little triangle at the bottom to get the menu and click on Edit Curvature. Click and drag the line to your desired location. Depending on where I move my cursor, the curve can change. Tracing out patterns is a good way of learning your shortcuts. The ones I use the most are A, which selects a pattern piece, Z, which selects a section of the pattern piece, C, curves, and sometimes X for adding a new point. As well as creating an internal line, you can also create an internal rectangle, which is how we'll trace our waistband piece. Now, shortcut A and highlight each piece in turn. Right click for the menu and pick Clone as Pattern. Position and click. Go to the property editor, add a fabric, and then drag into your new pattern piece. So now the pattern piece is clean. Repeat for all your pattern pieces. If need be, you can right click to rotate. We'll do that with the front and also the waistband. Once we have our 3 pattern pieces out of the scan, let's tidy up our 2D window by dragging our scan away and then repositioning our pieces onto the avatar. When repositioning pattern pieces, it is good practice to position them in an order that would make sense if you're actually constructing the garment. As we're removing the centre front rise seam, we need to position these 2 front pieces close to each other. It also makes sense to put the back pattern pieces by the sides of the front, so it's easier to imagine the actual garment coming together when you're stitching. Then you can visualise which side of the front stitches to which side of the back. So we only have half the pattern here, so once again highlight each piece in turn, right click, and this time pick symmetrical pattern and position in the required place and click to finish. So the gizmo, we've had a fractured relationship, but changing the settings has certainly helped me. Right click on the 3D window, select gizmo and local coordinates. Click and the compass of complexity will appear. Red line is for a cross. The blue line, which you might have to tilt here a bit to show you, but the blue line is for back and forth. And then the green line is for up and down. Sometimes looking at the avatar slightly on the side can help when figuring out where your pattern pieces are. Practice will help, and you can see I haven't mastered it yet. This is the one thing that I find really quite hard. So if we move the pieces to where our avatar is, and here you can see that my one front piece is actually behind the leg and the one is in front. So we get them all close to where the avatar is, and then we can start moving them back and front and also rotate those front pieces round. Here I never quite get a flat rotation, but it is a bit of trial and error. And here where you sort of can right click and move your avatar around, it really helps to find out where exactly your pieces are sitting. You can see that I haven't quite moved it far enough forward. And then once you've moved one piece, you need to move the other piece to try and accommodate but it is real trial and error. And I think as you get better, you don't have to use so many sort of back and forth, up and down. You just sort of know where it is. So once the front pieces are in, we can then do the back pieces. The better you have them positioned on the avatar, the better it is when you go on to sewing and trying to actually render your garment. So here we've got the back piece, and as we rotate round, you'll see that one of the pieces is white and one is grey. This shows the white is the face of the fabric, and then the grey is the back of the fabric. So bear with me while I reposition all these pieces, and then we can go back into the 2D window to start to construct the garment. It's best to have your pattern pieces as close to your avatar as possible because it takes less time to render. But what you don't want is the actual avatar showing through the pieces, because then you'll get weird things happening when you're rendering. The render might decide that it's on the other side, and it'll just end up on a heap on the floor. So there you have your garment in the 3D window. If we go back to the 2D window, and we can join our centre front pieces together. So first, shortcut Z, hold shift down and click on your two front rise seams, and then right click and merge. So now it's one piece, you don't have a seam there. Next we'll do the stitching. So first of all, we'll select segment stitching. This is for seams with just one portion. So your side seams on your waistband, you just click on the two lines you want to join together. And then also you have your centre back seams. So you can just click on those and they'll be stitched together. Make sure the little dashes are at the same position on both pieces so you don't have any twisting. Now, if you've got a couple of different portions within a seam, you want the MN segment sewing. So go back to the same button and select M:N. First of all, you click on all your segments on your first side, press enter, and then click on all the portions on the other side. And there you can see, and press another enter, and there you can see in the 3D window the stitching has come up. So I'll show you that again on the other side. So you press enter. Now if you don't have it positioned in the same place, you can see on the 3D window where it's crossed, the stitching's crossed, whereas when it's in the right area, you've pressed on the right section of the portion, it's all straight. You need to have straight stitching. Undo button and redo it helps. You can also use this MN segment stitching if you've got one portion connected to a couple. So here we've got the waistband connected to the two front pieces, which is actually one piece, but it's got two portions. So you select the one, enter, and then select the other side, and then enter. And this where it helps in the 3D window when it's all positioned. So when you're stitching the back, you can turn it round by right clicking. And then when you pick it in the 2D window, you can see that you're actually sewing the right bit to the right other bit. So we're just stitching the waistbands to the leggings. You may have noticed earlier that I had the front waistband in the wrong place, but I've managed to turn that round. So now you're looking at it in the 3D window, you can see all the stitches, and this you can check by right clicking and turning it around to see that all your stitching's straight and you haven't got any twists. And then when it comes to the internal seam, you can sort of position it so you can see the front, and then you can see that you're actually attaching it to the right back. Once again, we're using the segment stitching, so we click on the one side and then enter, and then we click all the portions on the other side and enter. And then we can do the other side. It's easier once you've done one side, because then you know you've only got the other side to stitch. So select, enter, and then select the other piece, and then enter again. In your 3D window, you can actually see that the leg is sticking through the stitching. We don't want this, but I'll show you why. If we render now, so you can either press space bar, or you can go up to 3D and select render there, and there you've got a strange leg that's not really sewn around the leg. So if you undo and then reposition just by dragging your pattern pieces within the 3D window, so that the stitching lines are actually now encapsulating the leg. So there's no leg sticking through anywhere. And then if we space bar to render again, there's your legging. I hope this helps you on your 3D journey. If you want this legging, it is actually available on Clo Connect. The link is down below.